Now, do you remember the story of the charity boss who was sacked for criticising Black Lives Matter? We talked about this at the time. This was, of course, Nick Buckley, founder of Mancunian Way. He described Black Lives Matter in a blog as a postmodern neo-Marxists who were calling for the destruction of Western democracy and our way of life, which led to his removal by the Board of Trustees. Well, he's been reinstated. The then trustees of the charity posted on Twitter, contrary to what has been said by others, our decision to terminate our relationship with Mr. Buckley was not based on nor influenced by his personal blog post, nor any other social media comments or online petitions. But this morning, the trustees of the charity say they have confirmed a mutually acceptable statement to avoid litigation and have resigned. A new board has asked Nick Buckley to return to his former role. Let's speak to Nick Buckley MBE now, the reinstated CEO of Mancunian Way. This, by the way, is a charity which helps young people in Manchester to avoid a life of crime and the like. Nick, afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
I should say congratulations, you have your job back, but of course this has been somewhat of a journey and wasn't straightforward.
It's been a hell of a 5-week period.
In terms of what went wrong to begin with, was this, I mean, the trustees said it wasn't based on what you'd said about Black Lives Matter, their decision to get rid of you. So what was it based on then?
That's really splitting hairs. So did they sack me for my post criticising Black Lives Matter? Then technically, no, they didn't. They sacked me for 2 reasons: bringing the charity into disrepute and for having a funder, a small funder of the charity, pull away because of my blog. So it's splitting hairs, really.
Okay. Many of them, we spoke to one critic of yours who told us that they thought you were unfit for purpose. They thought that there was something within much of what you'd said on Black Lives Matter that actually betrayed your real feelings about things like colour and race.
What's great about our country is that lady has the complete right to say those things. And I'm open to criticism. Am I perfect? No, I'm not. Do I change my views? Sometimes when I see new evidence and people speak to me, it's like, I never thought of it like that before. So that lady is entitled to her views, and I will fight for her to have her views. But then I'm entitled to my views. And that's what this really was about. This really was about cancel culture. This was about, we don't like what you said, not because
she called you a white supremacist, Nick.
Well, now we're going into the realm of slander now, aren't we? I don't really want to get into name calling with people and what names they called me. I try to rise above that. This topic is too important to get to a stage where we're just calling each other names.
Well, indeed, but I think the wider point from there was a body of thought that your views on race issues were inappropriate for a charity that is there to supposedly help young people. You would naturally refute that. Do you have any idea what it was based on?
Yeah, I absolutely refute that. The charity didn't have an opinion. My post was on my personal LinkedIn account. These were my opinions of someone who's worked in diverse communities for 20 years, who has worked with thousands of young people, many of them black, Asian, white. It made no difference to me. And I felt I had the right and the knowledge to give an opinion on Black Lives Matter, the political movement, and that's what I did. So I feel I don't have to explain myself and answer people who then thought what I said was racist, because I know it wasn't, and most people know it wasn't.
In terms of coming back then, so part of you coming back, was that an agreement for the current Board of Trustees to all go, or did they go because you're coming back?
That was one of my conditions.
So you said you would return. So who was asking for your return?
First of all, the general public was asking for my return. Nearly 18,000 people signed an online petition to have me reinstated. And when you compare that to 400 people who signed a petition to have me removed, that just shows a difference. Press attention helped. All the thousands of messages I had, and the charity itself got helped. And then litigation. Once the trustees realised that they weren't entitled to terminate my contract, then things changed.
Okay, so this became a point of employment law, as it were.
Yes.
Okay. You're back, then a new set of trustees will be appointed. Is that right?
Have been appointed, yes.
Okay. So who appoints them? I'm just intrigued as to how the mechanics of a charity works in this respect.
So the outgoing board had to recruit the new trustees, and I put names forward.
Now, you've alluded already, Nick, you don't have to defend yourself. There may be some people, rumour and innuendo has a nasty habit of sticking around and people can make their own minds up. But if there are people who are concerned that, hang on, here's this charity that is there to, help young people avoid a life of crime, but we're not quite sure what to think of the newly reinstated CEO. What do you say to those people? Is Mancunian Way in safe hands?
The charity's in completely safe hands. Over the last 9 years, I founded the charity. I invested all my redundancy, my savings for the first couple of years to get the charity off the ground. It achieves so many good things. It's won so many awards for the groundbreaking work we do. There is no slur against my name now. I've completely cleared my name. So there is no slur there. If people want to have a look at who I am and what I've achieved and what the charity achieves, then please do so. If anyone's got any questions, if anyone disagrees with me, and they're entitled to disagree with me, then contact me and tell me what it is exactly you disagree, and let's have a conversation. It's only through conversations and open dialogue can we get to the heart of things, and we can help each other communicate and understand each other.
So your contention then, in terms of losing this gig to begin with, Nick, was essentially, you mentioned the phrase cancel culture. You think you were swept up in all of that?
Oh, absolutely. Twitter went crazy. People, half a dozen people contacted the charity and demanded my resignation to begin with, and then demanded me to be sacked. 400 people signed the petition. It definitely was cancel culture. How dare a white man criticise and challenge Black Lives Matter, the political organisation? And I don't even think I challenged it. All I did was raise the points they write themselves on their website.
Is it true that you'd had a case of racial discrimination aimed at you previous to this?
No.
Okay. Which, again, I think was one of the accusations that was thrown around at the time. And tell us a little more then about the charity itself, because we've talked about your story, Mancunian Way. I mentioned that it's there to help young people avoid a life of crime. You've been going for a decade or more. Tell us a little bit more.
So the charity concentrates on working on the streets. So we work evenings, weekends, school holidays. We get onto the streets in the toughest neighbourhoods. We get to know the kids hanging around, and then we start conversations around, what are you doing here? Where's your life going? What help and support do you need? It takes time to build up those relationships. And then it's about seeing what we can do to help them. So is it employment? Do they not understand what great opportunities this country always has on offer? And there's no point in this country having these offers there if people can't see them. So we show young people how to spot the opportunities, how to build confidence, and how to grasp those opportunities. It's clear how you make success in this life, in this country: hard work, a good attitude, and dedication. And if you think the world's out to get you, or you think you come from a poor background like me, single parent household, council estate like me, poor education like me, so from my experience and wasting decades of my life, I can show young people this is how you become successful. And these are people who have done it. And that's the sort of work we do on the streets.
Nick, thank you for your time. Nick Buckley, MBE, got an MBE for his endeavours in this respect. He's now reinstated. You may remember the story from a few weeks ago. We covered it on this programme when we spoke at the time to one of his critics who was very damning about him. We had a lively discussion then, and there's Nick Buckley not wanting to return volley, as it were, in terms of who said what at what time, but refutes any allegation of racism or previous legal ramifications involving race. He wrote something privately on a blog about Black Lives Matter. That was it, he says. That's Nick Buckley. He's now back as the CEO of the charity Mancunian